What's going on YouTube Gen X? I was talking to my boy over the weekend about some of the stuff that I had spoken about on YouTube in Gen X. He doesn't know I post videos, but I'll often talk to him about what I'm talking about on here. And this week, we talked about the idea of the whole timing. You have the blaming of professional black men um, that's directed towards ones that are still young, who are not in a position where it is appropriate to say, hey, what have you done thus far, right? Um, and you have the blaming of black men where it's just like, you're older than me. Even if I get my shit together and do for you and do for others, what does that mean for you? You're older than me or you're the same age. Realistically speaking, if I'm a rock star and I find other black men who are rock stars and we get some shit done, it's probably not going to have the impact on your life as it will more than likely impact those that are coming after you. So about your kids and your grandkids. So we talked about that, and he agreed. We kind of laughed it off. But we also talked about how even if your educated black men are quote unquote doing this and doing that, that doesn't guarantee those sort of blue collar opportunities that quite frankly the black community needs when you look at your underserved communities. So it's not so much about trying to get Jamal to not end up living a life of crime in and out of prison and turning him into a doctor, but more realistically speaking, it's about taking Jamal and turning him into, let's say, a drywaller, or he's installing HVAC systems, heating and cooling. It's about putting him on that track. Why? Because it's easier to do so and it's more realistic. No one is saying that we shouldn't aspire to go to college or whatever. No one is saying that. But what is needed to make that jump, when you look at everything that has to happen, it's big. Because it's not only making it to college, it's also doing well in college. There's a lot that has to go on. That's why I've never been a fan of that sort of, well, we have to take our kids from this environment and we got to get them to college, because to me it doesn't work how it should. Yes, you're always going to take a small fraction, a small percentage of kids from underserved communities, and they're going to go all the way through college, whatever, and they're going to be these exceptions to the rule. But even with that, I can guarantee you there's a lot of stuff that never gets told in terms of what made them so different from everybody else. But there's a lot of stuff that has to go on. So realistically, it's about, taking these black men from these underserved communities and giving them a trade and giving them a skill, right? And giving them the ability to go off, and just do for themselves and just do for others in terms of, taking care of a family. Because like I said before, if you play cards right with blue collar, you're going to have a decent life. I don't say, oh yeah, you should be blue collar. You should have this lesser type of life. This is good enough for you. I don't say it in a condescending tone. Like I said before, I grew up in a middle class type of community where most of the men were blue collar workers. So next, to the family van, they had the family truck, or the work truck, or the work van, Hernandez Towing, or Johnson Plumbing, Wachowski drywalling, or whatever. So if you played your cards right, just like if you're a white collar, you worked hard, you made the proper moves, showed that you were reliable, responsible, you're going to do well. And, if you are really business inclined, maybe run your own show after you have enough experience. So if you really think about it, in my opinion, right, the gap between white collar and blue collar, a lot of it is just based off of the nature of work. But what you would need to do well, right, is almost universal. Work hard, show you're responsible, right, show that, you can grind, you have a business savvy. You could have the same type of outcome. It's funny because people don't understand that an F-350 is damn near like driving a luxury European car. Come to my neck of the woods and you'll see just as much F-350s, Super Duty, V28 or whatever you want to call it, just over the top type trucks, as you will see Mercedes Benzes. So there's a lot of quote unquote blue collar dudes who are kicking ass, who are rock stars. It is what it is. Literally, come to my neck of the woods. That's what you're gonna see. That big heavy duty turbo diesel, whatever, F350, expensive car. That's not his work car. That's his I'm stunned having fun car. That's just for him. Just like your dude who's doing well in his Mercedes E-Class or whatever the fuck he wants to drive. That's what he has going on. So it can happen. I don't say, oh, blue collar is good for you in the sense that, I want to cap their life and cap their level of success. No, not at all. It's just more so the path, right? The path that one needs to take to, let's say, get into blue collar, and the path that one needs to take to get to white collar, right, are somewhat different. And based off of what we have, based off of public education, based off of the fact that, you're talking about limited parental support with underserved communities, the idea of, yes, we're going to get you through college and get you this career, it's a lot has to happen. A lot has to happen. And just getting Jamal to college isn't a victory. So, yes, once again, I do believe that it's easier to give these men blue-collar jobs, and that is the need. Yes, of course, we have educated black men and women who talk about limited opportunities, but for the most part, the greater need is with those who need to be in blue-collar America. That is the greater need. If we had, one wish or two choices, choice A, solidify white-collar jobs for black men and women, or solidify blue-collar jobs for black men for the most part, right, from underserved communities, it would be black men from underserved communities, right? That's where you need the greatest amount of help, right? So, with that being said, how does educated black men who are in white-collar America address that need directly? Even if we're rock stars, once again, we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, how does that need get addressed directly? If you think about, okay, people who want to come together and run something or own something, it's more than likely going to be based off of what they base their career off of, because that's what they know. That's what they have a master level understanding of. Right, so if I spent the last 2 decades working in accounting and just mastering accounting or whatever, more than likely, if I'm going to come together and run my own show, which may provide opportunities for other people, it's probably going to center around accounting. If 3 black lawyers come together and say, let's open up, let's open something up together, more than likely it's probably going to be a law firm. Yes, you're going to have your exceptions to the rule where they may come together and they may have an opportunity that allows for them to employ, let's say, blue-collar type workers. Okay, so they're coming together and they develop some product. So they have this big warehouse, right, where they're shipping and receiving and doing this and doing that, where you may need some blue-collar type work. Yeah, you may have that. Yes, you may have that. Or let's say they open up a restaurant, right? They may need a cook or a chef or whatever. Yeah. Or maybe you have some architects that come together and they come up with some, renovation company, right? So they work with folks who want to renovate their homes, right? So they draw the blueprints and they actually do the work. So they have like their team of contractors that work for them, right? So yes, you may have that, but for the most part, the opportunities that educated white-collar black men would more than likely open up would be white-collar opportunities for the next generation of black men and black women, which, like I said before, doesn't specifically address the need for blue-collar work for black men. It really doesn't. I mean, they chose to get into white-collar America. They chose to dedicate time, resources, effort, blood, sweat, and tears to get in something that is white-collar in nature. So that's what they know. Even if they're rock stars, it is what it is. So all this sort of, oh, we need this from black men aren't doing this, they're not creating opportunities, even if they are. Those opportunities are not going to necessarily be as accessible, right, and as appropriate for those that need it. Yes, we will be solidifying the futures of the next generation of younger, educated black men and women. That's what we're going to be doing. Who are going to be, doctors, lawyers, accountants, the people in the white collar sector or whatever. Yes, we're solidifying that. That's a major victory that is needed, but once again, it's not addressing that greater need. What's going to happen to Jamal, Malik, Rayvon, and all these other cats who are in that sort of environment where they don't have much going on, underserved community, piss poor environment. All there is drugs and gang violence or whatever, robbing and stealing. How does that address that need? How does my law firm, between me and my buddies, from the same fraternity, how does that law firm give him a job? Just don't see it. So sad. So you have this sort of, let's blame educated brothers, right? Like I said, no one is saying that, we shouldn't be held accountable, but it has to be under the right context. It is what it is. You just can't blame anybody and just blame them for everything. It doesn't work like that. But the sad part is the need for that blue collar type of a job creation, it's not even properly being discussed. So you got people who are frustrated, and it's like you're wasting your time almost. I said a while ago that for me, the key would be to locate your Captain Solos of the world, your black men who are blue collar, who do have a mastery level at what they do. These men are the key. Maybe your white collar educated black men can maybe help them get organized and help them with understanding what they need to do to eventually be in a position where they can put on and train and eventually employ your blue collar black men. So there's that sort of relationship, but these men have to be found. We're assisting them. They have the mastery level understanding. Once again, I can help him set up the business, but it doesn't mean I can run it. I can help him set up the organization, file this paperwork. Okay, you want to pay your employees twice a month or whatever. I can set all that up for you. I can do your taxes. I can do this. I can do that. But in terms of this is what we're going to do. We install heating and cooling systems, or this is what we're going to do. We repair industrial refrigeration or whatever blue-collar type work is going on. Those men will be the ones that are heading, right, those types of opportunities. These men are the ones. So, to me, it's about finding these men. Literally, finding these men and picking their brains. And seeing where we can go from there, because they have the mastery level expertise. A dude with the mastery level of economics, what is he going to give to blue-collar black men in terms of what they can use? That's going to help them keep or find work, not much. So that's the key. Finding these men, if they exist, picking their brains, putting ourselves in a position where they can pass on their training and knowledge to the next generation, because that's how blue collar works, unfortunately. Yeah, you have your schools or whatever, right, that are now popping up where they're teaching students a craft or whatever, but a lot of it comes down to my father taught me, or my uncle taught me, or my brother-in-law taught me, or my father-in-law taught me how to, be an electrician, taught me how to be a carpenter or whatever, and I work for the family business. I work for the family company. That's how it works. A lot of the times, your blue collar, they're like family operations. So literally, you have to be blood to get that type of training, to get those opportunities. Because yes, even if you do have this sort of rise of trade technical schools, yes, you may have folks who don't have blue collar people in their bloodline, in their family circle, right, getting those sort of skills, but okay, you still got to get hired on. So if this is a family owned business, right, and they're really just fucking with family, right, and they have it set up where, uh, 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 the men who marry in the family may work for the dad or whatever, like they have it set up where literally it's family owned and ran. My, not my mechanic, but the dude, the auto body dude, anytime I get into an accident, like the dude I fuck with, that's how his whole operation is set up. Where it's set up where honestly, he may have 30 employees, but it's set up where if you're not blood, if you're not like close to the family in some shape or form, there's no position for you. So it's like that. So literally, it's about finding these sort of blue collar black men where they can pass on these skills to black men, right? And they're in a position where, stuff can be created where these same brothers can then turn around and be employed. So you can have give me a black son, Jackson Roof and Tile or whatever, and they do roofing, right? Residential roofing and residential tiling. That's what they do, right? So you learn the craft, you learn the trade from Mr. Jackson himself, and you get hired on or whatever. And who knows, maybe it turns into a family thing, just like you see with the whites and Hispanics or whoever. So for Jackson's roofing and tiling, yeah, man, you pretty much learn because you're a son or you're a cousin or you married into the family and then you have a position. That's pretty much just how it works out. That's just how we do things. So, it is what it is. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to identify these men, in my opinion. It's not about talking about what white-collar black men need to do. The role that we're going to play is not going to be the role that everybody thinks. We're not going to be the creators of this, the creators of that, because we don't hold that knowledge. We don't wield that mastery-level knowledge of, your different blue-collar trades. We don't. We would be that sort of supplemental help, where we would work with your mastery-level blue-collar black men and help them set up their companies, their businesses, their organizations, and consult with them. That's what we were going to be doing, realistically speaking, because if we're rock stars in closing, and we're doing what, quote unquote, we're not doing, okay, we are, but that's going to help out your next generation, black doctors, lawyers, teachers, anything with white collar, economists, MBAs, nurses, whatever they are. If they're in white collar America, okay, now they have opportunities, but not for your blue collar. And once again, that is the greatest need. Keeping these men out of a life of crime, keeping these men away from prison, and giving them the ability to fend for themselves for the most part, and then hopefully in time fend for a family, because they're gonna have kids. You know they're gonna have kids. So having kids, that's not even an issue. Simple. Your white collar black men and women, it's going to be difficult, but in time they'll get to where they need to be. A lot of the times with the struggles for black men and women in white collar America, it's just more so how long we have to wait before we get that position, before we get into the career. You eventually get there, but you're going to get something eventually versus Jamal, who's in that blue collar track where it may never happen. He ain't got nobody to train him. He has nobody to really put him on. There's no uncle he can go work for. He doesn't have the girlfriend whose father can hook him up or whatever with the job. Like, we don't have that sort of setup. So it is what it is. I know I said a lot, but just really had to put it out there. If you hear any background noises, my bad. That's my fan, or I got the TV on too watching football. But I just really had to put it out there. Y'all take it easy. God bless.